Dear students, welcome back to the next session. So how your life is going on? Hope you all are doing good. So I'm really happy to see that you all are following my video and doing your all assignments sincerely. So it's nice to see you all doing your work sincerely, bete. So without wasting our time, let us start the today's session. Last day we discussed how to create a one-dimensional array using the function array. Okay, and today I will tell you how to create two-dimensional array using the array function. But before that, bete, let me tell you that there are different functions using which we can create our NumPy arrays. Okay, so let us note down quickly that what are those different methods to create NumPy arrays. So the first one is using array function that we have already discussed yesterday. So the first method was using array function, already discussed in the last session. Only the thing left out is how to create 2D array using array function that I am going to tell you today. Then the next function is empty function. Okay, so empty function is another function which can be used to create an empty array or an uninitialized array. Now what is the meaning of uninitialized array? When we are telling empty array, it doesn't mean that the array will remain empty. It will have some values, but the values will be some random values, some garbage values already given by the Python. Okay, so I will give you an example just later on. Then the third function is zeros function. Now as per the name, what will happen, it will create an array and all the elements will be 0. Okay, then similarly another function is ones function. What it will do with it? It will create a new array with all its element as 1. Okay, now the next function is full function. Now previously we have discussed that zeros function will create an array of all the zeros, ones function will create the array with all the ones. Then what else we have to do if we want to keep any constant value other than 0 and 1? But it just spelling mistake is here, corrected. This should be constant value. Okay, so if we want any another constant value apart from 0 and 1, then we have to use the function full. I will give you the example how to use all these functions. And next one is using a range function. So range function must be known to all of you in class 11, I hope, because during looping, during for loop, you must have gone through the range function. Okay, how it works, what is the syntax of writing range function, this must be known to you. So here we are having not range, we are having a range. So it will decide the range of our array. Okay, so these are the functions which can be used to create NumPy array. Okay, so since all these functions belong to which module, bete? All these functions belong to NumPy array. So before using these functions to create NumPy array, we must import which module? Yes, NumPy module. Okay, so coming back to our Jupyter notebook. So the last session ended here and we will continue from here. So bete, what we have to do that today we will create 2D array. Okay, last day one of you have asked me, ma'am, how to create 2D array. So let me start from that question, that for creating 2D array, bete, first we have to import the same module NumPy as NP. But remember that we are using the same array function. Okay, which method we are using? Using array function. We are creating 2D array. Earlier we have created 1D array. Now we are creating 2D array using the same array function. So we have imported our module. The next thing we will do is take a list, okay, any list, whatever you want to take. Just I am taking 1 2 3, okay, and another one I am taking 4 5 6, okay. Now I am taking A1 as my array, okay, and I am taking np dot name of the function is array, and which list we have to pass? L1. I will explain all the things, just wait bit. Print A1. Now see, since in the previous example we were creating one-dimensional array, okay, but in this example we have to create 2D array. So for 2D array to be created from a list, we have to use a list of lists, okay, multiple lists we have to use. Why? Because we have to create two-dimensional array. If you remember this diagram bete, 2D array, now see here, 2D array is having two-dimensional. Now it is combination of rows and columns, okay. So the element will be stored in the form of rows and columns, okay. So coming back to Jupyter, what we have to do, we have to take multiple lists we have to take, so that it will behave as 2D array. So what it will do with it, every inner list becomes a row. Every inner list means the first inner list is 1 2 3 and the second inner list is having the elements 4 5 6. So the 2D array will have two rows. How many rows? Two rows, because we are having how many inner lists? We are having two inner lists. First inner list is having the elements 1 2 and 3, and the second inner list is having the elements 4 5 6, okay. So these two inner lists will behave as two different rows of our 2D array. Then what about the column? Just now I told you that 2D array will have both the rows and columns. So if these two inner lists will behave as two different rows of 2D array, what about the columns? So how many columns we will have? In each inner list we are having how many elements? We are having 3 elements. So total columns will be how much? We will have 3 columns. So altogether in this 2D array we will have 2 number of rows and 3 number of columns, okay. So shall we check the output? Let us check what we are getting. Now see, we are having 2 rows bete, no? So just now I told you that the number of rows will be what? The inner list will behave as number of rows. So first inner list was the 1 2 3. So first row is having the elements 1 2 3, and second inner list having 4 5 6 will be the second row of the 2D array. And what about the columns? So see how many columns we are having? First column, second column and third column. So how it is decided? It depends upon the number of elements in each inner list of the list, okay. So what will happen bete if I will skip one element from here? Let us check what we will get, okay. So if we will run this one, so it will not give you the exact 2D array, because to create two-dimensional array from multiple lists, the shape of the list must be same, okay. So if the first list is having 3 number of elements, then the second list must have also 3 number of elements, okay. So if you will run this, you will get exact 2D array. Suppose I want a 2D array of 3 rows and 3 columns, then what we have to do? We have to take another list written and which must have 3 elements again. Suppose I am taking 6 7 and 8. Let us run. What will happen? 6 7 8 will be appended at the last. Let us check. Got it? So if you are creating 2D array from the list, then the shape of the list. When I am talking about shape, it means number of elements. So shape of the array must be same for all the inner lists. Okay, so this was all about creating array from array function. Okay, and then what was the next method I told you just now? So the next method is empty function. So let us discuss empty function. But empty function is just to create an uninitialized array. Okay, let me tell you about this one. So since all the functions belong to a NumPy module, we must have to import our module in the code, NumPy as NP. Let us check. Now no need to use any list this time, because for array function we use list. Okay, now empty function can be used directly because there is no values inside the array. So let us have the name of the array, and what we will do, we can directly write empty, okay, and the size of the array. Suppose I am creating one dimensional array and I want the size as 4. Okay, so the parenthesis argument means the number of the elements inside the array. So what it will do, it will give you an array having the size 4, but all the elements will remain uninitialized. Uninitialized means any garbage value will be there. Okay, so let us check. Now see, we are having 4 different values, but the values are uninitialized. Okay, we are not giving any value, it is automatically given by the Python, and all these values are garbage values. Now you can see that these garbage values are in the form of what? Floating point numbers. Okay, if you want some garbage value in the form of integer, in that case you have to write d type equal to integer. Now what is d type? D type is the data type of the object. If you are not giving any d type, by default it will take the garbage value as floating point number. Okay, but if you want the garbage value as integer, then you have to mention that d type is equal to int. Now again it will take some random value, some garbage value, but those garbage values will remain in the form of integer. Let us check. Now see, all the 4 values are integer values, but garbage value. Just run it again and again, you will have different garbage values. Okay, see, again different values, again different values, because these are some uninitialized value given by the Python. Okay, now the same thing we can use to create 2D array also. Okay, so how to create 2D array using empty function? Now I'm just copying it, and instead of, now just tell me, if we are going to create 2D array, then we have to mention 2 dimensions. In the previous example we were creating 1 dimension. Okay, so we have to mention 1 dimension. So the size was 4 for 1 dimensional array, but here we want to create 2D array, and all of us know that for 2D array 2 dimensions are needed. And what are those 2 dimensions? Number of rows and number of columns. So you have to mention that how many number of rows you want and how many number of columns you want in your 2D array. So suppose I want 3 number of rows, then first you have to give 3 and 2. So whatever value you are providing first will be considered as number of rows, and whatever value you are giving later on will be considered as number of rows. So in this example we will have number of rows 3 and 2 number of columns. So let us check. What happened? Data type not understood. Where we have done bit. Okay, so now see, we are having 3 number of rows and 2 number of columns. Okay, got it? Now let us see. The next example is zeros function. What it will do, it will create an array having all the zeros. Okay, so what basically it will do, let us check using zeros. Okay, so same we will do, import NumPy as NP, then what we have to write, NP dot zeros within bracket, suppose I am writing 5, and then print A1. Okay, so this will create one dimensional array having how many elements? Having 5 elements. Okay, and all the elements will be what? All the elements will be 0. You can see all the elements are 0, but you can see clearly here that it is not written 0. It is written what? It is written 0 point. Okay, so 0 point denotes that these values are in the form of floating point numbers. So if you want only 0 as integer, what is to be done? Can you tell me? Yes, we have to mention that d type is equal to int. Okay, what we have to mention? D type is equal to int. So if you will write here d type equal to int, all 0 point will be replaced by the integer 0. Let us check. Okay, one mistake was there. Here we have to give the dimension in the form of square bracket. Okay, now see, it will take some random values. Okay, so you must give those values in the form of square bracket. Okay, so let us take another example, how to create 2D array of zeros. Okay, the same thing we have to do. In case of this, we have to mention that the number of rows and the number of columns, how many rows and how many columns we want, that we have to mention. Okay, so let us take that, we can change here also, suppose 2, 5. Okay, so what will happen? 2 number of rows and 5 number of columns we will have. Let us check. 2 number of rows and 5 number of columns we are having. What will happen if I will remove this one? If I will remove this one, all zeros will be in the form of 0 point. Okay, so that is the only difference. By default, the values are stored in floating point numbers. If you want to change it, you have to write d type is equal to integer. Now similarly, the next one is ones function. What it will do? It will, let me write, using ones. Okay, so import NumPy as NP, A1 equal to NP dot ones, and then the size, suppose I want 5. Okay, let us print our array. So what it will do? It will create an array of size 5, and all the 5 will be which value? 1. See, not 1 point something, because floating point numbers. And if you want only 1 as integer, then you have to mention d type is equal to integer. You got it? Now similarly, we will create 2D array of ones. Okay, so again import NumPy as NP, then A is equal to NP dot ones, then within bracket you have to mention the dimension, means how many rows and how many columns you want. Suppose I want 4 number of rows and 5 number of columns. So let us check the output. Okay, so all will be 1, but in the form of 4 number of rows and 5 number of columns. Yes, we got our output. The next one was beta full function. So what is the use of full function? Full function is used to give a constant value beta. Okay, full function is used to give the constant value apart from 0 and 1. Okay, so if we don't want 0 and 1, if we want any other value like 7, 8, anything, then we have to use full function. Okay, so let us check how to use full function. So the same thing, let me write using full function. Okay, so let us import the same thing. Don't forget to import the module beta, because all the function belongs to the module NumPy. So to make them work, we have to import our module first. So a is equal to np dot full. Let us create first the one-dimensional array. So to create one-dimensional array, size is this one, and I want all the elements as 8. Okay, so print 8. Let us check whether it is working or not. Yes, it is working. Okay, now this has created one-dimensional array and all the elements are 8. Now what to do if we want to create two-dimensional array of all 8 or any other constant value you want? So np dot full, how many rows and how many columns beta? As per your requirement. Suppose this time I want 2 rows 3 columns. Okay, let me put another parenthesis, and which constant value you want? Suppose I want 7. Okay, then let us print the result a. We got our result. Okay, so you have to take care of the syntax beta, how we are writing. So just open your laptop, open your PC and do practicing all these programs. These are very simple, but they are expected to come in your exam. This type of question is very example beta. Write an array to create 5 elements of 1s, or 5 elements of 7, or 5 elements of 8, like that. These questions are very common. Then the next function which we will discuss is the range function. Already you know about range function beta. Okay, so range function can be used in different types. So let me tell you. A range is used for array. So let me tell you about the first one. Import NumPy as np. Okay, so np dot a range. What if we will pass only for one argument? Okay, you may pass one argument, you may pass 2 arguments, you may pass 3 arguments. I will tell you about all the 3 situations that what will happen. So if we have passed only one argument as 10, what it will do beta? It will create an array, and that array will have how many elements? 10 elements, but the starting element will be 0 and the ending element will be whatever argument we have passed, that minus 1. Okay, so what will be our elements of array? It will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9, not 10. 10 is excluded. Okay, so let us check. Got it? Okay, this was the first way to use a range function. Now the second method is, you may enter your starting point and ending point as well. Okay, in the first situation we have just mentioned the ending point. Now in the second method you can use the starting point as well. That means that if you don't want to start your array from 0 and you want to start it from somewhere else, in that case, suppose you want it to start from 2 and you want it to up to 10. Okay, so in that situation, what will be our array elements? So our array elements will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again beta, the ending position will be excluded, the ending element will be excluded. Okay, So elements 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and what about the third argument? The third argument tell about the step. Okay, if we are not mentioning the third argument, so it is taking the step as 1. Step as 1 means what, bete? We have to move from 2 to 10 and the step will be 1. We will move one by one step. Okay, and now suppose I am giving you that import NumPy as np and a is equal to np dot a range, and suppose I am giving you 2 comma 10 and I am giving you step 2. What it will do, bete? It will take all the elements from 2 to 9, not 10, and skipping one element. Why? Because I have written here step 2. Okay, so it will skip one element in between. Let us check, bete. Suppose this is our code. So what is your expected output? It will give you the array 2, but it will skip 3 since we have written step 2. So the output will be 2, 4, then again it will skip 5, it will give 6, again it will skip 7, it will give 8, like that. Okay, let us check. Yes, check. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, not 10 because 10 is the ending element and the ending element will be excluded. Got it? So these are the different methods to create, bete, array, one-dimensional array and two-dimensional array. So I hope you got everything from this session. Whatever things I have discussed with you, you all will understand these things, and if you have any doubt, bete, you can ask me your query in my comment box. Okay, and what you have to do, you just maintain your classwork notebook that you people are already doing, and I'm very happy to see that. So that's all for today's session. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching. Bye.